The Roman Polanski case. Talent overshadowed by crime. I have no idea who this is. I'll be so for real. Also, please consider like subscribing. I appreciate it. This is by Caleb Realms. We'll see. I got no idea who this is. I'll be so for real. Probably some director, I'm assuming.
The Roman Polanski case. Talent overshadowed by crime. Ever imagined a family so wealthy their fortune could rival the GDP of a small nation? The Rockefellers achieved that, building an empire on the bedrock of oil. But their story transcends mere wealth. It's a saga of power, influence, and the relentless pursuit of ambition.
The strongest movie dude of today.
From dominating the oil industry to shaping the very fabric of American society through philanthropy and politics, the Rockefellers seem to touch every corner of American life. Yet, amidst their unparalleled success, a series of challenges emerge: family feuds, legal battles, and the ever-shifting sands of time that would ultimately test the endurance of their colossal fortune. Join us as we delve into the rise and fall of this American dynasty, a family whose legacy continues.
Okay, we just got a random dude. Okay, let's see. Again, I have no idea. Like the Rockefellers, right? That name rings a bell, obviously. Right? That I think most people know who they are, but this guy, don't know.
To shape the world we live in today, Hollywood's complicated relationship with morality. Let's start with the problem of virtue signaling in Hollywood.
Yeah, they love virtue signaling in Hollywood. They do love their virtue signaling. Though they don't give a shit, right? Remember, when Hollywood virtue signals, it's not because they think they're fighting for a great cause. It's not because they think they're sending an important message. It's just so they can farm you for money. They're literally playing an MMORPG. And you are the resource they're farming. Your money is the resource they're farming. Now that I think about it, life itself is an MMORPG.
Actors, directors, and influencers in the industry present themselves as champions of moral high ground, advocating for social justice and political reform. The Oscars, for instance, often become a platform for virtue signaling, where the stars parade their political stances in front of millions. However, when you
look at all these, we need to fight for great causes, solve world hunger, the poor, and then it's like, oh, tax the rich. That's an big one that these people always do, right? Tax the rich. And I'm like, motherfucker, you are the rich. Wait, Hollywood has morality? No. They kill infant babies.
Take a closer look, you start to realize that the moral consistency of these stances is often absent. It's easy to demand societal change and public accountability when it's trendy, but what happens when the issue hits closer to home? That's where
It's usually what Hollywood does is I support the current thing. I support the current thing. That's usually what's going on. That's usually what's happening, right?
Disconnect often occurs. Hollywood loves to cast itself.
For example, like war in Ukraine, everyone is like, oh, how bad this is. What happens in Gaza, Ukraine, it becomes completely irrelevant. It's just what it is, right? It's just I support the current thing.
As a bastion of moral righteousness. But when it comes to holding certain people accountable, many are quick to forgive or forget. The Polanski paradox. This brings us to the case of Roman Polanski. In the 1970s, Polanski drugged and raped a 13-year-old girl.
Diabolical. Bring me the wood chipper.
An act that led to his fleeing the United States to avoid prosecution. Despite this, some in Hollywood still regard him as a genius filmmaker and continue to support him. Even after his conviction, a number of prominent figures in the industry rally behind him, signing petitions for his release. Some of those involved in the Me Too movement have been among the most vocal advocates for his freedom. The hypocrisy.
Diabolical. That's what I'm saying. It's just like, right? To be fair, to hell with him. Can we talk about the fact that this guy's from Poland? Yes, we can. That doesn't surprise me here, though. because of the name. Here's the thing. A lot of people, a lot of women especially, were like hashtag me too, hashtag like plastering this everywhere, and later was released that they either had connections to abusers, supported abusers, or were abusers themselves. Isn't that funny?
Becomes more glaring when you consider that some of the same individuals pushing for changes in how we addressed sexual violence have also been the ones trying to bring Polanski back into the United States to face charges. This inconsistency raises questions about the true motivations behind their actions. Are they genuinely concerned about the well-being of victims, or are they simply playing political games to maintain their social standing?
They are. They are. It's like waving with the wind. It's like riding a wave, right?
The case of Asia Argento. One of the more puzzling aspects of this situation involves Asia Argento, a well-known actress and activist who became one of the loudest voices against Harvey Weinstein. Argento had previously been a victim of Weinstein's sexual abuse, but later she came under scrutiny after her support for Polanski's petition became public. Despite her own experiences with abuse, she signed the petition to free a man who had committed a similar crime. What makes this particularly troubling is the inconsistency of her actions. While she rightly condemned Weinstein, her public support for Polanski sends a message of moral ambivalence. At the time, she explained that she was trying to separate the artist from the art, but this position has
The artist from the art by having this guy run around free? Huh? Nah, I just think you're morally inconsistent, and that's what it is. Really. What do you mean?
been heavily criticized. How can someone who experienced trauma and publicly advocates for change be complicit in defending someone who's committed a similar offense? The flawed logic of
That's like letting the Austrian painter run because yeah, he's responsible for millions of people's deaths, but he's also artist. We must separate the art from the artist, so let's let him run free. What? Since when was Ruby chocolate a thing? For a while now. I've never had it though. Again, I really want to try.
forgiveness. Some people argue that Polanski's crimes occurred a long time ago and that he should be forgiven. The idea of redemption is a deeply human concept, and it's a topic that often comes up when discussing these cases. But there's a fine line between
There is no redemption societally for people that do this horrible stuff to, especially minors. See, there can be redemption for people that have killed somebody under certain circumstances, right? Then yeah, but like grape is a very particular act of choice, right? You don't grape somebody out of like I don't know, out of like rage, right? That doesn't happen. Watching the Ninjago movie right now. Nice.
offering forgiveness and excusing behavior that has had a profound and lasting impact on victims. Joe Rogan and his guests discuss how difficult it is to reconcile Polanski's artistic genius with the undeniable facts of his past actions. While they acknowledge his talent, they also struggle with the notion of forgiving someone who has committed such heinous crimes. For many, it's not just about his actions, but about the broader implications of allowing someone like him to continue living without facing consequences for his actions. Virtue signaling and Roman Polanski. The issue of virtue signaling in Hollywood becomes even more pronounced when examining the case of Roman Polanski. As one of the most iconic filmmakers in the industry, Polanski's work has been praised for its artistry and influence. However, his past, including fleeing the United States after being charged with the sexual assault of a 13-year-old girl, presents a deep moral dilemma. The Hollywood elite often position themselves as champions of progressive values.
Progressive. To be fair, let's see. We don't have to worry about progressive values. You know why? Because all these people are gonna die out sooner or later. So do not worry, guys. If you're worried about progressive values, they won't have children. Just have children. You're gonna beat them by natural selection itself. Do not worry. You'll win. You'll win. You'll win eventually. Anyways, I did not say that, Crockrock. I said that because I didn't obviously know what this guy did, right? I did not know that he was doing this, right? That he did grape a girl.
Yet the industry's continued reverence for Polanski highlights a stark contradiction between public persona and private actions. The Hollywood establishment, which frequently engages in virtue signaling about issues like social justice and women's rights, continues to celebrate Polanski's achievements while conveniently overlooking the severity of his criminal history. Celebrities and filmmakers have defended him, signing petitions for his release or publicly supporting his work, often for self-serving reasons, whether to stay relevant, avoid controversy, or preserve their association with his legacy. The case of Polanski exemplifies Hollywood's tendency to prioritize image over ethical consistency, where protecting a celebrated figure's career takes precedence over holding him accountable for his actions. The political landscape and Polanski's legacy. In Hollywood, political leanings often define how individuals are treated, and Polanski's case fits into this larger narrative of how the industry navigates moral and political issues. Hollywood, known for its liberal stance, sometimes finds itself in a bind when it comes to reconciling progressive values with the actions of its elite. Polanski, a convicted
Well, because anything for the agenda, you're gonna ignore some things for the agenda. Or even say that things weren't so for the agenda. Maintaining the agenda is our most important priority. Did you get my crappy joke? No, I did not. You are really bad at making jokes. That's why it's a crappy joke.
offender who remains revered by many in the industry, underscores this tension. Despite his criminal past, Polanski has been largely embraced by Hollywood figures who, perhaps due to his influential work or fear of backlash, are reluctant to address his actions. This reluctance is partly because speaking out against such a figure might alienate key players in the industry who continue to defend him. Hollywood's political landscape, where certain views can lead to career repercussions, creates an environment where individuals might choose silence over moral clarity. This pressure to conform to the status quo is especially evident in the case of those who defend Polanski despite his actions. The real-world impact. In the real world, people have to reconcile the decisions they make, both in their personal lives and their professional lives. Hollywood, on the other hand, has built an environment that encourages people to make decisions based on how they...
Yeah, it's just like Free Captain One Nut. It was the joke. Yeah, I still didn't get it. Hollywood, in my this is my personal opinion, is very much just used as a propaganda machine. In my opinion, it really just is a propaganda machine to push out ideology, right? Mostly subservient, but it is that's the only real world effect that Hollywood has. Nowadays, they are losing their grip because they're producing box office flop after box office flop. It is in their nature to fail, it seems.
They will be perceived rather than what is ethically or morally sound. It's a world where appearances matter more than integrity, and this is a problem that needs to be addressed. The idea that Hollywood can hold itself as a moral authority while allowing people like Polanski...
Yeah, that's the thing, though. You don't need to see Hollywood as a moral authority. They have no moral authority, as they are never ever consistent with their morals. They're never ever consistent with their takes. They have had a little more of a conservative leaning recently due to change in politics, and also because they have realized that they're failing and losing money, and that doesn't work that way. Interesting. Justin Painter has been known to only have one. Okay, now I know what you're referring to. Now it makes sense.
To be revered is a glaring contradiction. It's a world where people are more concerned with being liked than with being consistent in their values. And this behavior is not just limited to celebrities, but extends to the fans and industry insiders who support them. Thanks for tuning in. The Trump children's future remains uncertain, but their influence is undeniable. Will they rise to the occasion or fall?
Random Trump yapping. Interesting. The only thing I know is that Baron Trump saved a woman in the UK by calling the police. That's all I know recently. Anyways, interesting. Yeah, I did not know that this guy was the guy that did that stuff, right? That first of all, not only did I know that how popular he technically is in Hollywood, I also didn't know what he did. But that's interesting. Yeah, Hollywood has no morals. They do what makes them look the best, right? They will hide certain facts. Was it Ezra Miller that was just causing absolute mayhem, if I remember correctly, and they were just trying to hide that? But yeah, they're just doing whatever they can to just hide bad actors. But that's besides the point. Anyways, like, comment, and subscribe.